Hello, welcome once again. My name is Francis, and in this lesson, I'm going to take you through how to install a meter board or a meter box in a single-phase supply system. So first things first, before you start working on the meter board, you have to understand the safety standards that are there according to the IEE regulations. These are the rules that governs application and use of electricity, and it cuts across the globe. They are just international standards. And when you want to install the meter board, first you have to identify the kind of task you are going to do. We are going to install a single-phase supply meter board. So the first thing, we have to identify the kind of tools that we require for this practical or this installation. So I'll have to first get my meter board ready, because you have to understand the task and what it entails. So this is what we call a meter board. So inside the meter board, it comes empty. Nothing is inside. So it's, as a technician, it will be your duty to ensure that it is installed and connected appropriately. Inside the meter board, there are components that are supposed to be in this board. Now, this board simply houses what we call the energy meter, and that's why it is called meter board. It houses what we call the energy meter, and the energy meter comes from the local power supply system, and in this case we have what we call the Kanya power. So there are properties that are found within the meter board, and some components do not belong to the consumer. They belong to the Kenya power. For example, we have the supply cable. In your meter board, before power gets into the board, it has to come from somewhere. And through the supply, there is a cable that drops power from the nearby pole to this meter board, which is called the drop cable, the service cable, that belongs to the energy supply authority. And we also have this. This is what regulates the amount of energy that you consume per hour. It works in kilowatt hours. So you don't have to bother about this. Normally, your energy regulation body will bring it and install it for you. So you don't have to worry about this. The next thing that we'll have to do in the meter board is what we call bonding. Bonding, what is bonding? Bonding is simply connecting your meter board to earth continuity, which means it protects your house from things like shock or even likelihood of fire outbreak. And bonding is done using what we call an earth rod, and they come in different sizes, and this is what we call an earth rod. It's supposed to be sunk full into the ground to help with what we call the earth continuity. So another thing that we need is the main switch, that now from the energy meter, you have to supply power to the house. So first of all, it comes from the pole. It's dropped to this so that it's able to take the measurements, or it regulates the kind of energy you use, so that it helps in billing to the Kenya power. Then the first instance, there is a point at which power comes from the board into the consumer unit through what we call a main switch. Now, a main switch, they also come in different forms. So this is what we call MCB. It's a miniature circuit breaker. It's a double pole. It's able to isolate the whole house from the power supply. You simply switch it off, and you'll be able to isolate power from getting into the house. Then also, we have to bond the board. We bond this board to the ground through the earth rod, and when we are going to do our practical, I will be able to show you. Another thing that we need is the earth continuity cable. So this is what will help us to bond the meter board to the earth rod down in the ground. Now, after now knowing what we are going to do, we have our meter board and we have all the components that we need. The next thing for you as a technician is to identify the right tools that you are supposed to use. So in this case, we will need what we call a spirit label to help us get our work neat so that it does not look in a slanted position. We will need a hammer to drill holes where we can now connect maybe from the supply to the board. We'll have power dropping, and also we'll have to bond our meter box. So we'll need a hammer. We are going to also need a screwdriver to help us drive screws inside when we are doing our connection. We will also need a side cutter. This will help us in shaping or cutting the cables. And we will also need pliers, a pair of pliers for termination, and it helps with twisting and cable termination. We might also need this. Let's say we need to cut conduit pipes to fit them to be able to run the cables inside. So we will need this. And to a greater extent, we can as well require what we call a chisel to help us, or dot punch to help us drill or make holes where the conduit can get into contact with the board. So another thing that we will need, maybe we'll require a PVC conduit. So for running that cable to help us connect it with the earth rod. So I'm going to now take you to the next step where we shall perform the actual task. So you have to know that there is a procedure. Let's say you'll be given a practical scenario to perform this task. You have to identify all the materials that you need. The next thing is you identify the right tools. Then in our previous lesson we talked about wiring diagram. You will simply follow what was in the wiring diagram, then you perform your task. After performing the task, ensure that your workplace is cleared, maintain cleanliness of that environment. If you dug the ground, ensure that everything is returned into its original state, and take all the tools and keep them appropriately. Thank you. Let's go to the next stage.